Welcome to Soulfire Wisdom with Kate Olson. As an evolving spirit and change adventure navigator, it is Kate's mission to empower and guide you on your path and inspire your truest passions. She will encourage you to share your gifts, speak your truth, and ignite your inner wisdom and purpose. She hopes to do so with a little humor and grace, and her own soulfire passion. Kate talks with amazing guests who have embraced the pursuit and are fanning the flames of their own passion, purpose, and soulfire wisdom. Now here's your host, Kate.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Soulfire Wisdom and Totally Awesome, Try Something New and Talk About It Tuesday. So if this is your first time listening, I'm a hypnotherapist, an NLP practitioner, a Reiki master, and a life coach. But I like to call myself a change adventure navigator because I love helping to guide people through obstacles and adversity to find their path, purpose, and peace. So what I tried this week was I drink one cup of coffee a day, and I've been using those little pods that you put in an individual cup coffee maker, and it just makes you that one cup. But even though I only drink one cup, coffee is still kind of acidic, and it was bothering my stomach. So I saw this ad for Life Boost coffee, and I got that. And since I don't have pods, I had to buy a whole, a coffee maker that makes whole pots, but you can still pick the number of cups. So anyway, the reason why I got that Life Boost coffee is because it's supposed to be low acidic, and also it's fair trade, sustainable, organic. And so, it sounded really good, and it comes in some flavors that sounded good, chocolate truffle, and I got chocolate truffle and dark roast, and I tried both of those, and I didn't like them quite as well as my regular coffee that was in the pods, but it did do what they said it would do. It is lower acid, so it bothered my stomach less, and I was actually able to have like 2 cups of coffee. So I have a great guest planned for today. My guest is Rocky Singh Kandola. And Rocky is a successful businessman. He's the owner of Hair Maiden India and has a beautiful new showroom in Beverly Hills. He's also a motivational speaker. He's a college graduate with a degree in philosophy and speaks 4 languages. And, he has a good life, but wasn't always that way. He has also been a convicted felon. He spent a lot of his youth in reform camps. He's had a lot of strife and adversity with attempts on his life, more surgeries than one can imagine. And, just a life that you really couldn't imagine transitioning to the life that he has now. So we're going to talk to him and find out more about his journey and that transition. Hi, Rocky. How are you?
Hello, Miss Kate. Thank you so much for having me today.
So can you just start out and tell us a little bit more about yourself and what brought you to your current path?
Yeah, definitely. So first, as you said, my name is Rocky Singh Kandola. You got me thinking I need to upgrade my coffee now after I heard about the dark coffee, the mocha with the acidic free. I was like, oh wow, I need to maybe try something new, maybe. But yeah, like you were saying, I was born in New York. My parents are first generation from India. I believe they were here, maybe the early '80s. I was born in '86. From there, my father quickly moved the family down south. By the time I was, I think, 4 or 5, and started his business and his career path, which is as a cardiologist down there. He was like one of the first ones in the area to be a cardiologist in that hospital system. So it was like a good career decision for him. And I think even now, like, it caused some kind of problem in the family because he was like, we're a tight Indian family. Indian families kind of stay close to each other. And our family's in New York and Canada, and he kind of left that area, so the family wasn't really, maybe, I guess, super pleased about that. Um, and I don't think he did it. He definitely didn't do it for any kind of wrong reasons. But as kids growing up down there, being Indian and the color of my skin and who I am and everything, it kind of got a little bit confused down there. I remember as a kid, kind of just not really knowing where I fit in or who I was. But that also caused problems with my father and my relationship with him because I was, I'd kind of adapt to things around me. I'd be outspoken. I would talk about it. I'd want to go outside and play with friends and kids. And as a good Indian kid, as a child, you want to, a couple of big things, and one of them is go perfect grades in school and study, and then obey your parents and be home and listen to what they say. And I mean, I did very well in school, but the latter of the two, with the staying at home thing, I was not that type. I always wanted to be out and about, and just playing with friends, or whenever I was a little bit older. My father taught me how to drive, even sneaking his car out. And that kind of started me and him bumping heads at a young age when I started getting sent around a lot. The first time I got sent away was India. I was like 11 or 12, around there. And he told me back then it was kind of for a cultural experience. And then later in life, he was kind of like, you were getting kind of tough to deal with. And I had 2 other kids to deal with also. So, I sent you there to live with some family nearby. And, I remember I had like fond memories from that time. It wasn't really horrible. I did get a couple, got beat up once, for like flipping off an older uncle, like for cutting me off on a bicycle by his son, and small things like that. But overall, I got to travel around the country and kind of be free and learn, about the culture and things like that. But when I got back, I kind of got a good bit of taste of freedom, and I was kind of more wanting to be out and about and just, hop in the car and go type of thing. And at 12, I got pulled over for sneaking my dad's car out one night. Yeah, I was 12 or 13 at the oldest. I was a big kid, though. I was a really big kid. Um, and instead of going the next day to tennis camps I was supposed to be going to in Louisiana, my dad and my mom told me I'm going to a school in Mexico that was, for the summer and temporarily, and they have jet skis and swimming pools. And, that's what the school had told them. And in fact, it couldn't have been further from the truth. I was headed to like one of the one of the craziest places I've ever been to or experienced in my life. It's called the Worldwide Association of Specialty Programs. They have operations all over the world. The one I went to 2 of them actually. One of them, the one I'm speaking about now, is Casa by the Sea. It was in Baja California, Ensenada, Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's just crazy. As soon as you get there, you're stripped from everything you have, your clothes, your hair. The lights get kind of dim. People start screaming at you and grabbing you. You're sleeping in the hallway for the first 10 days. You're not allowed to do anything without permission, from standing up to sitting down to using the restroom. You're waking up at 2 o'clock in the middle of the night to count in the line outside in the cold and the rain. You're cut off from the outside world, from family, from friends, from talking to anybody, even inside from talking to anybody. And you're just put into a program of brainwashing, manipulation, obviously mental abuse, tons of physical and sexual abuse as well. Everything from being made to sit on the end of a metal chair and write notes for 4 hours at a time, to being thrown off of said chair into a concrete wall, kicked down the hallway, put on your stomach, hands and feet tied behind your back, and you just sit there for, whoever knows how long. You don't even know how long it is, really. It's so long that when you finally stand up, your legs and your arms and everything cramp up from being like in one position for so long. But yeah, that was kind of the schools I went to in the beginning. which kind of did set the tone for a lot of stuff afterwards. You know, when I got out of that school finally, I did about 6 to 7 months there. The pattern of my life had become 6 to 7 months in each kind of school that I was at. And, you know, that school in particular, I like really became like untrusting towards anything, anyone around me, and especially authority figures. And you know, they had things called families there. You know, like obviously, like people in your own family would tell on you, and kids would tell on other kids in order to get their time reduced and get more time and this and that. So like just the lack of respect for authority and the lack of trust, like just went crazy from there. You know, after I got out of there, I went to maybe 5 or 6 different facilities. You know, from you know, military school to Catholic boarding school to a regular public school to private school, you know, all around, until I was once again sent back to the same school by the same administration. By the story I told earlier about how being kicked down the hallway, that was actually me. I went to the same exact school where the guy was running it on the border of Canada and New York, where I was actually kidnapped, not kidnapped, well, yeah, kidnapped, taken out of my bed in the middle of the night, 2 o'clock in the morning, with my hands and my feet cuffed together already, and escorted to this program where, you know, they told me on the way there that, hey, Jason Phillinson, the guy from your last program, is the admin at this new place. And that was, you know, that was crazy. I was 17 by then, so I was, you know, much larger than I was at 12. And, you know, I wasn't really too worried about the physical abuse part because I knew they couldn't touch me. And in that sense, they didn't hurt me. They grabbed me a few times when I was there, but they didn't hurt me. They couldn't. But you know, just to be back in that position, it was crazy, and that kind of settled the deal and sold it for me. Where I was like, you know what, don't ever trust anybody. Anybody that's older than you or authority, they're bad and they have nothing good for you, and you need to fight back and be who you want to be. And you know, when I got out of that school, 17, and graduated high school, that's exactly what I did. I dove, you know, straight into drugs, to partying, to women, to selling and doing drugs, to robbing, shooting, stealing, and getting all that done to me as well. Just a crazy lifestyle. You know, and it lasted until even after I went to prison. You know, I got out of prison, and I was still kind of living the same lifestyle. It took a heavy, heavy, long journey that's still in progress. Actually, the last 6, 7 years to kind of shift out of that.
So, what did you? The reform camps were mostly like your parents sent you there, or what did you actually go to prison for?
Yeah, so the camps were basically there. I mean, sometimes there was law enforcement involved as far as me getting pulled over and then getting in trouble, but it was their, you know, choice to do that. You know, they didn't have the full details of what was happening at these schools. Obviously, none of the parents really do. It's a big manipulation. But for prison, I wound myself up. You know, like I said, I was getting heavy into selling drugs and doing drugs. I was like trying to be like, you know, the main guy around town, 3 different Mercedes, you know, showing up downtown, going to parties and selling drugs. And eventually the federal and the state narcotics agencies caught on to that and set me up in an undercover sting operation where, you know, they had a controlled buy, an undercover officer, and me selling cocaine to him, and him putting in a large order and me confirming it, and things like that they brought up in court and had on camera. So there's really nothing I could do. You know, I was red-handed. I was just caught, and you know, it took 9 years of my life altogether. You know, 2 years of house arrest, a year or so in rehab inpatient, a year or so in jail, 2 years in prison, and then probation and this and that and everything on top of it. You know, it definitely took a big chunk of time.
So, what was the actual turning point that, you know, that made you decide that that wasn't the path that you wanted?
You know, I say this a lot. They're like, you know, everything we do, everything, it's all for a reason. Everything, every choice, every situation, it's all adding up to mean something and stuff like that. And, you know, if you'd asked me this question a couple of weeks ago, I would have said, you know, automatically my mind would have went to when I got out of prison and November 4th, 2011 or 12, I was getting back in the lifestyle. My father kind of nicely said to me, hey, you know, maybe you should leave town. You know, you're not home. You're not asking for money. I don't know what you're doing. Just go get away from it all. And I said yes. And I left my identity, my girlfriend, everything I had behind and went. But now that I've had more time to reflect and been reading my journals and writing this book, I noticed a pattern in my writing, even when I was in prison, of like hard-headed, crazy, you know, criminal-minded kid that like also had a very good side to him that was like just peeking around the corner, that I was like always searching for something. I knew intuitively almost there was something better out there and there was something more for me. I was just blocking myself with the drugs and the partying and the money and not really seeing it. So I think the turning point, as to your question, like if I had to pinpoint it, I would say the same thing. But I believe that that turning point, that it started before that, that, even when I was going through everything I was going through, in the middle of it, in the middle of planning how to make a next big, drug sale, coke sale, whatever it was, that my mind was also saying, one day I need to change the world. One day I need to write a book about this and teach people and help people and grow beyond it. And seeing that now, like while I'm editing and writing this book, has really, helped me a lot. And I think that's one thing that I go back on time and time again. And people ask me sometimes too, especially family, don't get it. Why do you do these things? And why are you talking about it? Why are you talking about the past? Um, that like I literally just gave the answer right before that. Like it's helping me explore my past, myself, my past decisions, thoughts, become introspective and learn, even greater from the choices and the mentalities and the mind framing I was doing back then compared to how it is now. And also, the healing part of the journey, it takes time. We don't have to figure out one way to do it. My way is not necessarily the right way, but it did work for me the way that I've got it together. And I say it worked, and it's like it's over. Like it's not. It's definitely not an over thing. Things are always going to come up in life. We're going to always have days where we feel it stronger than other days, and it's just. I think the key thing is learning how to deal with things better and grow from that, and learning how that something's going to come up. You're going to have a down day or a bad day, or just feel crazy or feel like crying or feel like you know, even something, worse, like going back to depression or suicidal thoughts, and just know that it's okay to feel that. And it's okay to sit and think and feel it. And then, start to work through it and understand it and get to the better side of that. Which is, if you can do that, then, it's okay to have those kind of thoughts. If, you can feel them, understand them, and get through them, and not let them, keep you down all day.
Right. So was there anything that you did or that helped you in making this transition to a better life?
Yeah, I mean, once again, it goes to that, like, how everything we do is kind of adding up. There's so many things and people. The biggest things is, I hate to say I did it myself, because like it was definitely another power energy in me as well, but was me letting go of distractions around me, people around me, certain things I was doing, like video games and just TV shows randomly all day, and even news and stuff. Just that helped a lot. Getting in tune with myself and taking time to step away from everything that's going on in life, and just being out in nature and quieting myself, or just being alone and quieting myself, and just not looking for other options or advice or other basically hits of dopamine from social media or from this and that. Just really kind of getting in tune with that. And then feeding myself with positive information from YouTube, from books, from podcasts. There's a wealth of info out there. I mean, for the way I was feeling, when I really started to make changes, which I was at that time, the business still wasn't doing well. I was going through a separation with my now ex-wife. I was still off and on with, some drugs and drinking heavily and making bad choices. And, I really just was able to finally realize, like, hey, I want to do something different. Once again, and meditation and yoga and listening to these tapes, like really helped me. At first I was just like, I don't know what I'm listening to stuff for. This is retarded. Like, I know a lot of this stuff. I'm wasting time. And then slowly I just kept on keeping on the background. I started realizing, like, just a small, subtle shift in the way I felt, and the way I was thinking, and the way I was dealing with problems that were arising around me, and the way I was viewing those problems, is not even problems anymore. It's just part of, the way I handle life and the way things come and you deal with them. So those are kind of like the biggest things.
Were there any, did you have any mentors or people that inspired you?
Yeah, I pull inspiration from a lot of places, but the YouTube podcast, as far as them go, like in the early days, Robin Sharma, Ralph Smart, Gary Vee, Tim Ferriss, Joe Dispenza, all these guys online. There's a wealth of information. Eckhart Tolle, and there's just so much information they have out there in these different groups. From mindset miracles, entrepreneurs, and business stuff and relationship stuff. There's just so much out there positive wise that I was almost like, because I was in a place a year ago even where I was like, man, I really need a coach or a mentor, or now we have these life coaches and this and that. Like I need a counselor, I need someone to help me. And I'm reaching out to people, I'm making calls, and I'm doing meetings. And one person's asking me for $5,000. One person's asking me for Zoom calls. One person sounds like a car salesman. The other person doesn't want to really talk to me. And I was like, oh, what's going on? How do I find help? Now, at the first time in my life, I want help. I really want help, like in life stuff and spiritual and personal stuff. And where do I found it? And I really found it on YouTube and podcasts. I really wish I could say how powerful it was, like, and really express it. But if you can put this story in your head, I would literally wake up in the mornings not knowing what to do in LA, no friends, no family, living in a car, and I would go into a Planet Fitness, go to the gym, and I would put this stuff in my ears and not even really understanding, the concepts of spirituality and transcendental thinking and mind framing. And I'll just have tears in my eyes. Like I'll just like, and not even understanding really why I was sad or crying or what was going on. It would just be coming. And then, I never stopped. And to this day, like my girlfriend right now, like if we're driving or if we're doing something, or even if we're having like a tough day, we'll put a tape on and just like listen to it. And it's not to say that those people are 100% right, that that's like our Bible or our spiritual walk path. No, like a lot of them, we agree with a lot of what they say and disagree with even most of what they say sometimes. But the whole point and the whole energy behind it is you reaching out, to find some kind of positive message and energy, because instead of feeling a certain way, you're ready to shift out of that. You're ready to learn from it and grow beyond it. So just the whole act of doing that, if you've been searching for it, is pretty powerful in itself. And if you start listening to enough stuff out there, you're going to find some stuff you really connect with, no matter what it is you think about or what your views are, or political or sexual or financial, whatever. Like we're too connected nowadays, and there's so many people sharing this information. So I encourage anybody listening in, whatever the problem is you're facing or issue or question you might have, to just go to YouTube, go to podcasts, and search around and pay some attention, and you'll probably find something that, if you don't learn how to do something, you'll find a good way how not to do it. I'm very good at explaining how not to do things because I've done a lot of mistakes.
So how did your business get started, and when and how?
So I was in Alabama State Prison with my homeboy Jock, who was one of my bunkmates, and we were kind of different than most of the people around us. We enjoyed, the shooting the crap prison yards, talking stuff, and working out. But instead of like doing other things in the evenings, we concentrate on business plans and things like things that advance our minds, but Scrabble, philosophy talks, and business plans. So we used to use these cell phones that were snuck into the prison to call out to his family members and find out pricing about the different businesses we want to do, the market plans, how much inventory would cost, what's hot in the market, what kind of deals we could do. And we came up with a bunch of them, and the hair was one of them. And as I told you earlier, I got out of prison, I got back in the same lifestyle. I was still hustling. I was still, on the streets trying to sell drugs and do drugs or whatever. And, in my mind, I was smarter. I've been to prison now. I knew how to, be careful. And, thank God nothing happened. I never got in trouble from that. I just got to let it go. But when I was in India and I left from that, from that lifestyle and left everything behind, is when all of a sudden I was like, oh, what am I going to do in my life now? I want to do something. I want to do something. I don't want to look over my shoulder. I'm not selling drugs anymore. I'm not going back to that life. I don't know who I am or what I can do or what I'm good at, but I want to try something. And here, that business plan, the one-page piece of paper I made in prison, came back to my mind. And I made one Facebook post, and all my homegirls from Pascagoula High School, from the schools I went to as a kid, were like, "Oh my God, Rocky, you have hair! You have hair! Like, hit us up. We want to work with you. We want to work with you." And I just started and never looked back. All my friends and stuff my whole life have known me as the guy to like just do weird, crazy things, or be a dope boy or a party animal, or work at a tennis job one day and a doctor's office the next day, and never see me kind of stick with one thing. So a lot of people are kind of curious about, what is Rocky doing with this whole hair thing? And for me, that was just like, the turning point. I love the company. I love what I do within it. I love running it. I love all my amazing clients and partners and stuff I've met and have. But I will do other things, and I'll never stay disconnected from this. But, the speaking, and hopefully one day I'll be able to go to schools in different countries and help kids out speaking there and talking to them about what they can do and, how they can change their minds and, really create the lives they want to. And if you really understand that and know it, there's not really much that can stop you, in my opinion. And that's kind of like the goal to lead to there.
So, how do you feel that you can most help other people? Like, if you saw a kid that, you could just see yourself in that kid when you were their age, what would you tell them?
Yeah, it's such a good question because I mean, so growing up, like my father, for me personally, always showed me the most love by gifts and money type of
Mhm.
thing. And like, he was very, very amazing father, but very strict and very demanding of certain things. And when he showed love, he was basically usually giving you something for the large part. So I kind of learned that a little bit in myself as well. Like I'm a very giving person and I always want to help people. And as I've grown older and older, I've realized that even if someone wanted money more than anything in the world or a monetary thing more than anything in the world, like usually it's not helping them. And I've really had to struggle with that because like, I was like, can I just help someone money? And if I could, like, is that really helping them or not? Um, and part of me was just like, I wish I could just have enough money to give every little kid some money every time I see him. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing either. So as I've started doing speaking more, I've kind of realized that, and which I would have wanted as a kid as well, it's just somebody to talk to and to listen, and that can really relate, and really takes time to understand it, and has maybe been through the same things himself, and that's all I can do really. I think that's the best I can do. Money wise, I hope I can start some foundations or maybe donate to some schools where these kids, especially in other countries, can come learn together and possibly hear from me or learn some things that I put together one day. But I think I think really when it comes down to the world and humanity, which is such an overwhelming thing to think about and see, but that's what it's going to take also is just people caring about people one to one, understanding and loving, everybody.
Yeah, it's amazing how much a little time and attention can do for a kid. So, what do you like best about your life now?
I remember when I was like 14 or 15, me and my friend Kevin had snuck out my dad's car and we were driving around and we were talking and we were like, man, we need to make some money. Like, man, I wish we could just find a job that we could just drive around and go everywhere and just get paid for it. And it's weird how like now, like when I thought about that conversation now, like I'm like, wow, I have that now. Selling hair in this business, the industry that I'm in, and the way it's all worked out for me, I literally do what I want to do every day, and go where I want to go and do the business I want to do, and can travel doing that because it's such a vast, worldwide industry. So that's it. It's every single day. Sometimes I get down, sometimes I don't know what to do. And that's normal. But on a general basis, I can literally wake up and say, okay, especially now that I've worked this hard this long, I'm financially able to just say, okay, I want to go to Hawaii next week. I want to go to Belize next week. I want to go to London next week, and I want to stay for a couple weeks and work from there. My shop I can run on my laptop and my phone, and my team is amazing. That we all know each other. We know each other so well that we can argue with each other, in a work sense, and a friend sense. And we have ups and downs in the team as well. But we are a team that knows each other, that has a business together, that is on the same goal, both business and personally. I mean, that's a powerful factor and I'm very grateful to have that powerful factor, be part of that powerful factor as well. So that's like it's all my favorite part, really.
Okay, great. So, what would you most like to share with the world? You do speaking and you have a platform. So, what would you most like to share?
Most I don't sometimes I don't like the words that are so like most the least, but the most I guess would just have to be like me. And not to say like I'm just this special, amazing, person, but I feel like I have experienced a lot from my point of view that has been so diverse and different and up and down that just a conversation and just being with anybody present, I can kind of contribute and add value to them, their lives, or maybe someone's lives that they know. Um, And I think maybe a part of that question I'm still working on figuring out totally, like what is the actual, like what is like the direct sentence. But I do know it's along the lines of, giving of myself, sharing what I've learned in my experience, and being able to serve and deliver value to people for things that they need, that they actually need. Like I want to like fix those issues and problems. I think maybe it'll turn itself out to be like projects, because one of my big projects is the Breaking Goat Silence hashtag, and getting these kids that are still going through these things that I went through a chance to not have to go through it, and possibly still learn from someone like me or like my brothers and sisters that are survivors that have been through the same things I have. Maybe learn from one of us and then see if this is what you could be going through. We're doing our best to stop these things, but you need to maybe think about doing A, B, C, and X, Y, Z so you can never in the future have to have, this anywhere near you or around you, and possibly help some friends you might know in the process. And that's just one project. I hope to be able to help prisoners one day, especially all the ones going to prison for not, something that I feel like they need to be in there that long for. And then when they get out, they don't know what to do. For me, I have a lot of help and resources and family, and I couldn't get a job at Burger King, so like I couldn't get a job at Uber, at Lyft, at Postmates, at Grubhub, any of them I applied to when I came to LA, and I was in a bad situation. I needed it. So yeah, I just want to be able to help those people. I would love that, for a girl to come out of prison, to have heard about my company, to say, Rock, like, I don't want to sell dope no more. I want to rock with your hair, and I want to work, and I'm ready to do this. And I'll be like, let's go. I'm going to back up and support you. Let's work. And that's fun to me. That's the goal. So
You can't always do it. Sometimes people do need to, go the hard way. But part of what I like doing is, helping somebody to learn what I learned faster, and avoid some of the adversity and
exactly, shorten the timeline a little bit. It's such a tough place to be, because like especially when you've been through things, and like it's really painful and hurtful and almost like traumatic. Like you don't want anyone to go through it ever, right? But on the same hand, like you really want someone to, especially someone you care about, understand the lessons that you can take away from that and what you've learned from that. So it's like, you have to like, especially for me, I find trouble like in really like emotionally connecting and expressing like how big of a deal some of the things are. And if your mind was like, I was explaining to my girlfriend earlier, I was like, they used to do seminars in boot camp where they take you away from the program and turn the lights off and play certain music and close your eyes and have you walk around you and touch you in certain areas to engage all your senses and really put you in that mind frame. And I was telling her, I was like, it's so tough to explain to someone and make it so powerful when you can't like force their mindset to say, oh, I'm trapped and this is the way out. I'm in here. So it's like, it's tough to kind of explain, but I think that especially some of the girls and my sisters that are on these groups on Facebook, the way they explain it and the way they're able to articulate their emotions behind it is, and I think some of them are starting to become more like, open to talking about it out loud. It was really powerful. And a lot of times I get some of the, like, I'm able to articulate and make my mind clear by reading some of the posts and stuff that they say.
So I'm going to ask you another hard question, and this is probably hard for you. You'll be the second youngest person that I've asked this question to. It really has nothing to do with anything from your past. I've just been asking all my guests this lately, and the question is, what has surprised you most about life so far?
People. I think, yeah, I mean, I think in my nature, always been very like, I am very loving. I've always been very trusting. And I think that just putting my trust in people a lot of times was like the first thing that I started realizing, like, wow, this is not the way I thought it was gonna be. This is not the way I thought it was gonna be. Um, I mean, and that was in the past. And now that I've kind of grown and learned that like people are just people, and everyone's gonna have their own actions, and everyone's gonna be themselves. And usually that's not the result of anything I did. Usually it's from within them or something they're going through. I don't feel as surprised anymore. But I do know that that was one of my, because obviously I said trust is one of my big things. And generally, the things that break our trust, I mean, the laws of physics and gravity are here. Like we can walk on ground and breathe air and trust that we'll be alive. But come from other human beings, other people. And I think that for me, a lot of it had to do with how I felt about myself, also about how insecure I was with myself, and the fact that I was always scared and thinking that the next day would never come, and I have to live in this day to the fullest because tomorrow's probably not going to be there. A lot of that being put out there kind of made me even more surprised about things like that. Um, but yeah, I'm curious to know what everyone else said also now about what's surprising the most in
Oh,
life.
it's different for everyone. I actually don't know what I'm going to do with this, but I feel like it's going to play a part in something that I produce in the future. So,
Cool.
so you went through a lot, medically, and I know that's always hard, no matter how it occurs. So what happened that caused the injury to your face and the surgeries that you had to have?
So this one injury in particular was the cause of probably at least 10 or 15 of my major surgeries. I was on house arrest pending conviction and trial for my charges. And I had a music class where I had to go downtown to the opera one evening. My girlfriend and I at the time went to the opera, and upon leaving, we went to a bar. At that bar, some words were exchanged, and eventually I was thrown into a concrete sidewalk, and my entire jaw bit the side of the sidewalk and was totally fractured from here to here, from here to here, with wires and plates all in here. Basically, the doctor said your jaw was a bag of bones, and we put it back together. And somehow, this the only scar entry you can see is down here now. They did an amazing job. But yeah, that was and there was just so many surgeries. I had to take bone out of my head and put it into my jaw, and then put implants on top of that. Almost all my teeth are fake, except the ones right here or has worked under them. Like I said, there's still wires going all the way through here and plates right here as well. So that was pretty major. There was about 6 months of my life or so I don't really remember too much. It's all really hazy. For 2 years, I had no teeth on this side. In fact, I went to prison, with metal on my mouth still, and had to be rushed out of prison one day to go get medical surgery, emergency medical surgery at a prison hospital. When I was asking them for months, I was like, it's hurting, it's hurting. And finally, one day, the metal just popped out, and then they rushed me to the hospital. But yeah, before that, I mean, like I've been stabbed, broken arms, legs. This arm like completely cut off almost on all the way to the side here, and just scars everywhere. Just crazy kid, drugs and parties and alcohol and fighting. I got scars like literally all over me. I mean, even honestly, like I say, like the last 6 years I've been doing better, and I have been doing much better. But I mean, I made this post I think on my Instagram a couple days ago, and all my family's asking about it. Where I had like a scar here and a bloody eye, a red nose, and stuff like that. And that was just 2 years ago. I was getting to a point where I was like really depressed and down and like kind of mad and sad again, and not really knowing what to do. Kind of going through a separation with my ex-wife, and I was just drinking a lot, and I was like so mad at myself that I would go. It's funny now looking back at it. It was definitely not fun and nothing, not a joking matter. But I would go to bars and like I would just get in a fight and just try to get someone to hit me, and then like I wouldn't really fight even. I would just kind of just get hit and hurt, and like maybe I'd try to fight here and there, but it was kind of more like I was just upset at myself and trying to hurt myself subconsciously almost. And I mean, thankfully I've made large steps away from even that mind frame, the way I was thinking back then, Um, and I still have small steps back now, but I haven't gone to the point of like that close to that even, in quite some time. And, once you start getting stable in life and business, things really start balancing out and start rolling forward with good momentum when you're not there holding them back, basically.
Yeah,
So, and that's slowly started happening now, finally. So,
Yeah, that being your own enemy.
yeah,
You gotta love yourself.
yeah, definitely. It's took me a while to learn that. I used to struggle with like, what do you mean love myself? What do I got to do? What do I have to do? And like, it's kind of more of just like, and my friend taught me the best,
Well,
like
go
about just
ahead.
breathing. We just taught me every time I would ask him, he would just breathe and just smile and not say anything, and like meditate in front of me. My friend Sean, he does things funny, but I understood what he meant. Finally, it took a while. But,
Yeah, it's kind of like when you don't fully love yourself, even though sometimes you don't realize it. You're always looking for something from the outside, approval, or disappointment. Sometimes you're looking for disappointment because that's what you're feeling on the inside. But when you finally do love yourself, you're looking for it from the inside. And so all that stuff going on the outside, it doesn't get to you so much.
exactly, I agree, 100%.
So if you could leave the listeners with one thought from today's show, what would you want that to be?
I would say, especially in light of everything going on right now in the world, and where we all get it, our news, our sources, and everything from, something really powerful for everybody, and you might have heard this before too, would just be to block all that out, maybe for 2 days, 3 days, even for a couple hours, and just be by yourself. Read a really nice, book, read an autobiography, or just take a couple of days. I have to force myself to do this, and I'm not good at it. I'm like a go 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 type,
Mm.
and even like my girlfriend or anybody that's around me that you can ask them like, when we're sitting still too long, I start to get like antsy, like, hey, like let's do something. Where are we gonna go? Let's we got to get something done. I don't feel right. But in reality, it's a very powerful thing. I think right now with the news hitting you from one direction about the polls and elections, and one direction about the medical and the other countries, and this is going on, that's going on. Just take a minute, sit outside by a tree, go walk down by the water, look around, and just appreciate how the earth is set up and how beautiful the trees are and nice the sun is, and the good parts about it. And it might sound like a hippie or weird thing to some people, and honestly, I was probably one of those people 5 years ago. But I've tried it now, and I've learned that the power of it, and it's so important to quiet your mind and be able to think, freely, and to have the self love and care to give yourself the opportunity to do that. And when no matter how great we think we are, a lot of times we're caught up in life and doing the things that we actually do need to do. We forget to do another thing that we need to do, which is give time to ourselves to quiet down and chill out. It doesn't take long. I mean, you can literally. I used to do it without knowing it in the bathroom in the beginning of the day, where I would cry, just pull my hair out, be sad and be stressed out, and then wash my face, smile, talk to myself for a second, and then go start the day. It can be stuff as simple as that, but the power of getting rid of the distractions of the news and the music and the TVs and the movies for even a little bit of time, if that's what you do, is huge. So I'd say give that a shot. It's a good starting point.
Yeah, actually, very, very good advice there. So, if somebody wants to get in touch with you, either for your hair business, or maybe they want to know more about your story, or feel like you can be of help to them, how would they get in touch?
Yeah. So I have a website for everything. My main website, which is my name, is rockykandola.com. And it has links to all the businesses that I'm currently involved with, from hair to CBD to vacation rental properties to some acting stuff I did as well. Um, and you can reach out to me on the website with my direct contact. My phone number is 228-596-5678. For hair, cool. My website's already. I can talk to you about things. If you really want to talk about some of the stuff me and Miss Kate were talking about more in depth about childhood stuff and prison stuff, or making it past something, um, honestly, give me a call. Like, I'll be a listening ear. It helps me grow, and maybe I'll be able to share some of my experience with you that might be the answer you're looking for, or it might be something that guides you and leads you somewhere else. Either way, you have my direct contact, and I will clear my time and listen to you if you call me. So call me.
Okay, great. I'll be looking for your books to come out. I'm sure that'll be, helpful to people. And thank you so much for being here today and telling your story. I'm glad that you are working through and got to the other side of some of all that stuff.
Definitely. Thank you so much for having me, Ms. Kate.
Okay. So we have another great show planned for next week. Next week, my guest will be Victor Purton. And Victor is actually from Australia. He has a background as a parliamentarian. He was an ambassador to the US. And he's done quite a few other interesting things. But for the last couple of years, he was going around the world asking people what made them optimistic. And last year, about this time, I had him on the show because he wrote his first book on optimism. And he opened the Center for Optimism in Australia. And so I'm having him back on to see, we've had a crazy year in 2020. And I want to find out, how optimism has fared through all of that and really what Victor's been doing. So be sure to tune in. That's 3 p.m. Tuesday, 12:15, 3 p.m. Pacific time. It'll actually be the 16th at 9 a.m. in Australia. So I'm just going to say bye for now. Have a great week.
Thank you for listening to Soul Fire Wisdom with Kate Olson. We hope you enjoyed the show. If we made you laugh, brightened your day, or sparked a new thought, we have succeeded in our mission. Join us next time when we'll share more secrets and truths and all the magic of transformation that is the journey to Soul Fire Wisdom. Always remember, be fierce in the pursuit of what sets your soul on fire.
Good night,